Join me on the most fantastic test, proper secret test. I've been trying to get Horacio to do this forever. Found out that in the works there is the ultimate Zonda sitting over there ticking away, and it's called the Zonda 760 RS, and 760 stands for how much horsepower it's got. Extraordinary they got it up to 760, and the reason for it, they keep having owners who have Zonda Rs, but they want a Zonda R for the road. Well, this is it. And it's just having its final shakedown today. They want to do a final software test with the gearbox, and then we're driving it tomorrow. So we're heading up into the hills, and they've given me this car to chase, which is the original development car for all Paganis. This is chassis number 2, and it's done everything from the C12S when it went from 7 litres to 7.3, and the Zonda F and a few other things. Apparently it's got over 1 million kilometres on it. It's a bit heavier than the 760 RS sitting over there. What a test. 2 Paganis, head up in the hills, 760 horsepower each. It's going to be a lot of fun. This is such an extreme car. 760 over the 650 of the previous Zondas. Huge difference. I mean, it's 100 horsepower more, but it's so much more aggressive on the engine. Still really creamy, smooth, but just a slightly higher revs, about 7,500 RPM or thereabouts you can use on this thing. But the mapping isn't quite right in first gear at the moment. But what a machine. I mean, just look at it. Just amazing. That great big spoiler. Absolutely dominating everything. And then at the back, the 7-speed gearbox needs that little extension. Like all Zondas, you can sort of see the exhaust on the outside, but it's fantastic. Around the front, the badge saying 760 RS, just brilliant. It's the Y era. Gets me about the Y era. They're 850,000 euros for that. If you want one of these 760 RSs, you're looking at 1.6 million. Twice the price of a Y era. Lift the clamshell up. And there is the engine in all its glory. I do love the exhaust, all in powder coated like that. Amazing titanium exhaust. The distinctive logo there saying this is very different, and also there it's one of one, the 760 RS. Words got out about this car, and he had just before Geneva, he was travelling back from the Middle East, Horacio Pagani, and there was someone who was really keen, had to see the car, had to see the 760, and he said, well, there's Sunday, I can open on Sunday before open the factory if you came down. And this customer flew in, and Horacio said, the only trouble, I've got to get to Geneva. He says, oh, we'll sort you out, we'll give you a lift up to Geneva. Anyway, arrive on Sunday, the customers, and then took the car out, this prototype car, couldn't believe it, and then flew Horacio up to Geneva and signed and bought 2 cars and signed it on the plane to Geneva just before the Geneva show opened. Just extraordinary what's happening at Pagani at the moment. You've got to remember, 1.6 million each, so that's a £3.2 million for 2 cars. Just the customer base out there, this world we're in with these Uber cars, I find just amazing. Anyway, right, we are off. Got a nice start in the morning. Zonda is a fairly grumpy thing to drive most of the time. Oh, it's like it's on carburettors. How exciting is this? By the way, Darren, it takes the racing line into the industrial estate. give you a walk around some of the details on here, because it's just exquisite, this 760 RS. It's got the different day light LEDs there that we saw on the Tricorli, and then these extra little winglets. You see, it's got one extra over the Cinque, and then this great detail here, this sort of bolted on extra extension to the front wing, because the wheels are 10 inch at the front, so 1 inch wider than the previous car. So I love the Italian flag on the mirrors, and then this way this carbon just flows in. If I can get out of the way, I don't know if you can see that, but the weave has to match all the way through. And we see when you have the rear clamshell comes down and the door, look at that, it actually joins up. And the amount of work it takes to get all the carbon to match like that is just surreal, and it's part of the reason why this is a £1.6 million car. I think if it was mine, I'd have to take that little cover off the rear gearbox just to sort of have it all exposed. Yeah, what a car. You sort of, you blithely say 760 horsepower, you do feel the difference over a Cinque. It's just that extra bit of energy right the way through the rev range, and an extra 500 revs at the top to rev to 7.5. 7.3 litres howling at 7,500 m does get your attention. See how the carbon is normal carbon on the doors and here, and then we move to this titanium carbon, the actual tub itself. Incredibly strong, and it's just even lighter than regular carbon fibre. I think it's one of those cases when I'll just shut up and let the car do the talking. Pretty gentle with it, because the incredibly generous owner has let me drive this car before he even takes delivery, so he's paid for it. And today's Tuesday, and it leaves the factory on Friday on a boat off to South America. So he hasn't seen it, he hasn't driven it, and he's let Evo get in it first. So I'm extremely grateful. So I can't go too crazy in this car. This is extreme as I expected. The engine utterly dominates, followed by this gearbox, this paddle shift 7-speed gearbox. I've driven it before in the Cinque, and that behaved quite well. This one is really struggling at low speeds, but then once you really get moving, it sort of comes into its own. And I suppose in such a ultimate Zonda, sort of Zonda R for the road, well, that sort of makes sense. As long as it makes, you know, extreme speed accessible when you're using the revs, it's pretty special. But it's the character of the car, how the Zonda has sort of changed. I can remember when the Zonda came out, it was a sort of GT car, and it's sort of gradually morphed into this track car, really. And I think the closest way to try and explain what it is think of 911, and then think of GT3, and then GT3 RS. Well, this Zonda is like the 4-litre RS. It's just the ultimate pinnacle of something that was pretty damn good in the first place. And then you get to the Y era and the new generation of Pagani, and I'm actually lucky enough to have driven one last year, and I probably shouldn't be saying, but we'll be driving them in a few weeks' time. And that's a different character again.
And again, if I look back at 911, think of the Y era as a 911 turbo. So it's got this incredible speed, but it's sort of so capable and it can carry that speed. It's not got all the agenda and all the add-ons that the GT3 has. That's sort of the different characters, and I think it's just great that people are, you know, want this ultimate sort of car. But of course, it's the engine that dominates all the time in this car, and there's no getting away that this V12 AMG is a very, very special car. And this is car number 1 of this series. And the next one is going to be called